Hi class, in this video I will work through a few homework problems from section 7.5 on solving rational equations. The first example says solve the rational equation. We're going to use the same method that I taught you in class when we solve problems like this. I want you to rewrite each of these equations without the fractions, and to do that we follow this method called clearing the fractions, and what that means is to multiply each term in the equation by the common denominator. We'll be multiplying the common denominator to each numerator of the fraction so that we can simplify the denominator to be a 1 and hence not need the denominator at all. And so looking at the denominators of 10, 15, and 10, a common denominator is 30. So we're going to multiply each term by 30. I've done this a few times, but for this video, I'm actually going to just write parentheses 30 above each of the numerators. Sometimes I write beside the numerator, sometimes I write above the numerator. So it's possible you saw me work this slightly different in class, but I think you'll catch on. Okay, take a look at the first term in the fraction. Instead of multiplying 30 times u minus 8, I want you to simplify the 30 in the numerator with the 10 in the denominator, and that leaves a 3 and a 1. And so now this entire first term is 3, and then I'm going to put a parentheses around the original binomial, u minus 8 over 1, which I'm not even going to write that part. Okay, next, the second term, 30 and 15, simplify to 2 and 1. So this entire second term will now be 2 parentheses u plus 9, which was the original binomial, and all of that equals the last term, 30 and 10, will simplify to 3 and 1. And so this last term is 3 times 3. Now if we go through here and use the distributive property, it's 3u minus 24 plus 2u plus 18 equals 9. Next, if we collect like terms, negative 24 and positive 18 is negative 6. 3u and a positive 2u is 5u equals 9. I have ran out of room, so I'm going to move that equation right here. 5u minus 6 equals 9. From here, you should recognize how to solve this equation. Add 6 to both sides. 5u equals 15. Divide by 5 on both sides to get a final answer of u equals 3. Okay, so let's try that again. The directions are still the same. Solve the rational equation. In parentheses, it says check for extraneous solutions. If there is no solution, enter no solution. I don't typically assign the problems that have an answer of no solution. So for the most part, you can just ignore this additional instructions and just solve these equations the same way we've been solving them in class. Okay, the whole thing starts off with finding the common denominator. 2x, 6, and 6x have a common denominator of 6x. So we're going to multiply that to each one of the terms. The first term, before we multiply by the 5, let the 6x and the 2x simplify to 3 and 1. And this entire first term is now 3 times 5. The second term, 6x and the denominator 6 cancels to x and 1. And so this entire second term is now plus 5x. The last term, 6x and 6x completely cancel out to 1 and 1. And so this term is equal negative 5. Now that we have rewritten the equation without fractions, we can simplify this. Will be 15 plus 5x equals negative 5. Subtract 15 from both sides. 5x equals negative 20. When you divide both sides by 5, x equals negative 4, and that's your final answer. Okay, let's try that again. There is one additional instruction. It says enter your answer as a comma-separated list. If you go on to college algebra, you'll probably solve rational expressions again where you have more than one answer. But for this class in Math 099, you will only have one answer. Okay, looking at these denominators, we have 8 as a whole number. Denominator is 1. Denominator of x, 4 is a whole number, so the denominator is 1. And then we have another denominator of x. The common denominator of all of these terms is x, so that's what we will multiply each term by. Okay, this first one, x, there's already a 1 in the denominator, and so this first term is now just 8x minus The x in the numerator cancels with the x in the denominator, so this entire term is now minus 15 equals, okay, if you take a look at this 4, the denominator is 1, and so there's nothing that the x can cancel with, and so this term is just 4x. And then the last one, the two x's do cancel, and this is just a positive 5. I'm trying to take my time as I rewrite these fractions because I really want you to see where I'm creating this new equation, that it's actually the same equation, it just looks different. So for now, we'll just go through this and solve for x. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. 4x minus 15 equals 5. Add 15 to both sides. This 4x equals 20. When you divide by 4 to both sides, x equals 5. And that is your final answer. Okay, this is the last question on this video. This time we have a common denominator that's a binomial, x minus 5. This whole number 1 right here in the middle has a denominator of a 1. And so a common denominator is x minus 5. That's what we'll multiply to each term. Okay, taking a look at this very first term, the x minus 5 from the numerator cancels with the denominator. This first term is now 6x. Taking a look at this second term, it was a positive 1, but now we're going to multiply by x minus 5. So that's what it looks like. Equals this last term, the x minus 5 from the denominator cancels with the 1 in the numerator, and so it's just equal to 9. Now this problem looks a whole lot easier to solve than it did at the beginning. This becomes 7x minus 5 equals 9. Add 5 to both sides. 7x equals 14. Divide both sides by 7, and x equals 2, and that is your final answer. Okay, please continue to practice these, and let me know if you have any questions on this homework assignment.